Hello everyone! Welcome back to another lesson in our IELTS Listening course. Aaron from A-Land here, and today we will be talking about Unit 9, which is all about note completion. If you're finding these videos helpful, help us out by liking and sharing these videos with your friends. Now, this type of question is usually found in section 4 of the IELTS listening test. If you remember from the first video, we talked about how section 4 is a monologue. That means one person speaking about an academic subject, just like you would hear in a class. And what do you do in class? You take notes. Or in other words, you make a summary out of the information that you listen. This is what a note completion exercise looks like. As always, you'll have the instructions at the top, and then we have a heading that tells us what the topic of the monologue will be. In this case, we will listen to a recording talking about Antarctica. Notes can also have subheadings like these, geography and research stations, and then are followed by the organized information to fill in. So, let's talk a little about listening strategies. And let's take a look at a short list of words. Even though, but, however, in fact, and no. Do you know what all these words have in common? No? Well, they can be used as distractors. I talked a little bit about them before, but let me expand a little on them. A distractor is a very common part of the IELTS listening test. Basically, the speaker will give you a piece of information, and you will think that is the right answer. But the speaker will then correct what they have said, and the new corrected piece of information will in fact be the right answer. Yeah? So, how do these words fit in? When you hear them, it's very likely that you're about to hear a correction. So for example, for a long time, people told stories about the temple being built to honor Thor, god of lightning. However, modern research found that it was meant to honor Hela, goddess of death. See, this is why you need to pay attention to distractors, or else you will get answers wrong easily. I would say that IELTS listening is a little bit more complicated than writing or reading or speaking, because you're doing 3 things at once. Listening, reading, and writing. And that brings us to the next skill, tracking. Tracking is something you do while you listen to the recording, and it requires you to pay a lot of attention. Your goal is to keep track of where the speaker is in the reading, and which question you should be answering in the question booklet at the same time. Tracking works because IELTS listening questions always provide context clues to help you know which question to answer. It can be a word or a paraphrased sentence. This works because IELTS listening questions also come in order. So, when you're listening for question 1, you should also have in mind what the next question is too. It takes some practice to get this right, but I'm sure you can do it. And with that, let's sum up. Remember to keep your ears open for distractors at all times. Also, practice keeping track of where you are in the recording and the questions at the same time. And finally, remember that you will hear paraphrasing in the recordings. So, the keywords will not always be exactly the same as on the question sheet. With that, it's time for a quick checkup. You can pause the video now and find a paper and pen to complete the exercise if you haven't already. For the first exercise, you will complete a note based on the information in the conversation you hear. Write no more than one word or a number for each answer. Are you ready? Let's begin.
Tonight I'm going to talk to you about that remarkable continent, Antarctica. Remote, hostile, and at present uninhabited on a permanent basis. For early explorers, it was the ultimate survival contest. For researchers like me, it remains a place of great intellectual challenge, while for the modern tourist, it's simply a wilderness of great beauty. First, some facts and figures. Antarctica is a place of extremes, the highest, coldest, and windiest continent, and over 58 times the size of the UK. The ice cap contains almost 70% of the world's fresh water and 90% of its ice. But with very low snowfall, most of the continent technically falls unbelievably into the category of desert.
Okay, let's check on your answers. We heard on the recording, Antarctica is the highest, coldest, and windiest continent and over 58 times the size of the UK. 58 times the size is the same as saying 58 times as big. For the next answer, most of the continent technically falls unbelievably into the category of deserts. Again, we have a bit of paraphrasing here. Falls into the category of equals classified as. Good job! Now, let's try another exercise, shall we? For this one, we will listen to a recording about Woody Allen. You will write no more than 2 words and or a number for each answer. Are you ready? Let's begin.
One of the leading scriptwriters, stand-up comedians and filmmakers of his era, Woody Allen was born in Allen Stewart, Königsberg on 1st of December 1935. Born and brought up in Brooklyn in New York, he loved reading comic books and watching movies, and he proved to be a natural writer. At school, he was noted for his extraordinarily high IQ, but school is said to have held little interest for him. When he was 15, he took up the clarinet and became an accomplished player, particularly of jazz music. Allen began selling jokes to newspaper columnists, and in the early 1960s began appearing in comedy clubs, telling his own jokes, and is now known as one of the greatest stand-up comedians ever. In the mid-60s,
let's check on the answers. His date of birth is the 1st of December. One number, one word. The city he was born is New York. Brooklyn is a part of New York City, not a city. Some of his childhood hobbies were reading comics and watching movies. And finally, before stand-up comedy, he made money by selling jokes to newspaper writers. I hope you have all the right answers. Now let's continue listening to this audio for the next exercise. The instructions are the same. You will write no more than 2 words and or a number for each answer. Ready? Let's begin.
Allen moved into the world of filmmaking, at first as a writer and actor. What's New, Pussycat came out in 1965. Woody Allen proved himself a prolific writer, and as well as movie and script writer, he had 2 hit theatre shows on Broadway. He became a film director in the late 60s and produced some hugely successful film comedies, notably Sleeper, a comedy set in the future, Bananas, a comedy set in a banana republic, and Love and Death, his classic spoof of Tolstoy's War and Peace. In 1977, his film Annie Hall was a huge success and won him praise from audiences and critics alike, and it won 3 Oscars for director, screenplay, and best picture.
Okay, let's review. Allen wrote films and also wrote theater shows. 3 of his successful comedy films are Sleeper, Bananas, and Love and Death. His 1977 film, Annie Hall, won 3 Oscars, a very prestigious award. I'm sure you got all the answers correct this time, so good job. Now, let's sum it all up. You now have more information about note completion. You also have some new listening strategies, and we have done some exercises to put everything into practice. And with that, we come to the end of Unit 9, Note Completion. I hope you enjoyed it, and remember, as always, to like and share this video if you found it helpful. Goodbye.